Mike Yuva making an appearance. Did you see all the bodyguards and the entourage?
I know.
That came in with
He's
Yuva?
high rolling now that he's
Big
in
time
TV
dude,
again.
Man.
So I got dropped off in a little car by our good friend Jack Veltri.
Oh, you're in Veltri's car? And you're alive?
He's borrowing, I think, his grandmother's car. It's actually a really neat car. Have you seen it?
His truck's been in the shop for like a month now.
Have you seen it?
I have not.
What's grandma's ride?
It's a cool. He's probably listening to this right now. It's like a mini coupe.
Really?
I'm not like Mona Lisa Vito over here, so I'm not great with like cars. I know it's embarrassing, but the point being is, and I've been sharing this story with some of our colleagues when we were over at the ops building. Jimmy Buffett comes on. I love Jimmy Buffett. Came on in Spanish, so I'm just looking at Jack. I'm like, I feel like we're in a car that you'd see in the sitcom, comedians in car getting coffee, and then I'm listening to Jimmy Buffett in Spanish. Buenos noches, amigos. I mean, like, it was a great way to see Jack. Haven't seen him in a minute, so it was great.
That's funny. I never knew there was Jimmy Buffett in Spanish.
Either.
I didn't know that he actually recorded it in multiple languages. That's actually pretty neat.
Now, was it Jimmy? You think it was Jimmy really?
No, it's probably Juan.
If you gave him enough to drink, he could probably sing in a lot of different languages.
Yeah,
Let's be honest.
Juan Buffett.
We've all seen this in the draft process.
Yeah.
Dude pops halfway through the year, three-quarters through the year. Mock draft number 17,402 puts him in the first round, right?
Oh, yeah.
Then, all of a sudden, for whatever reason, he loses momentum, right? And now Kyle Kennard's gone from bottom of the first round to second round, maybe fall in the third round, and all these other things. But to your point, go out to the pro day, show better than you did at the combine and your positional drills and the other things you're going to do, and hopefully you can pick some momentum back up again. I still think Kennard goes no worse in the third round. I think he's going to go in day 2. How about you?
Yeah, no, that's kind of where I'm looking at right now. I think Nick, and I think we could all agree with this, that he'll be the first Gamecock off the board. I think what it comes down to is whether or not he'll be the first safety off the board. And depending on how things play out, he could be, in that 20 range. He could be a little bit later than that. He could be a little bit earlier, depending on how things go at Pro Day. If there's one team that's there in particular and they say, wow, I really like this kid. I like the way that he
fits
moves.
what we want to do defensively. Correct. And everything, right?
So I think after that, TJ Sanders is the second player that I'm looking at. And then to your point with Kyle Kennard, I mean, I think with what Demetrius Knight did at the Combine, I don't want to get too carried away because I think sometimes we see this too, right? Like a guy tests so well, to your point, the Underwear Olympics, someone does so well, and it's just like, man, this guy's going to skyrocket. Demetrius did some good things, and I think the biggest thing, and I think we can all agree, and we saw the tape, for a guy that big, he moves so well.
Circle back to, we talked about Paul Maneri and the baseball team, losing 2 out of 3 to Oklahoma. You had that game won yesterday. You got your closer protecting a lead in the 9th. You couldn't hold it. You had a 2-run lead in the 7th. You couldn't hold it. You only went down in order once in the entire game, and you didn't score more runs, even though you did score enough runs to win. Your bullpen, once again, against Clemson and against Oklahoma, your bullpen had some leakage that you've got to stop. You didn't make some plays defensively late. You got to make those plays. A multitude of things happened, but the bottom line is you should have walked out of this weekend series winning 2 out of 3 over Oklahoma at home.
Yeah, and again, the margins are so razor thin in the SEC that, losing one series doesn't kill you, but it's one of those things that you look back on and say, man, what difference that one game could have possibly made. And again, now you're getting set to go on an 8-game stretch, starting with College of Charleston tomorrow, and not ending, but this short little stretch ending with North Carolina, in a week or so. That could really be a big swing one way or the other on how the season's going to go.
This day, we like to go old school. I always like one or two little old school references from back when things happened before cable. So, 1939, Tyler had. Villanova wins the first game of the men's NCAA basketball tournament, defeating Brown 42-30 in Philly. Ohio State then beat Wake Forest 64-52 in the second game of the doubleheader. And you remember who won the national championship in 1939, right? Of
course.
Oregon Ducks.
Yes. How could I forget?
You saw it on the Ocho.
Of course. Yeah, they had those great Nike uniforms back in '39.
Phil Knight, ready? The young Phil Knight.
Yeah, that might have been his freshman year.
So it's funny. Oregon won the first title in 1939. It hasn't won one since, obviously. They've been to a couple Final Fours. But Oregon won the first one, beating Ohio State 46-33.
That's a pretty quick tournament, by the way.
Oh, yeah, ready? Okay, so you ready? Villanova, Brown, Ohio State, Wake Forest, Oregon, Texas, Utah State, Oklahoma. Nothing kooky like the Rochester School of Dentistry or anything whacked out like that.
There was no madness in March back then.
No.
They didn't even seed them. It was randomly threw them together.
Showed up and played, man. The quote-unquote Final Four, Villanova, Ohio State, Oregon, Oklahoma. And then Oregon and Ohio State played for the title. That's how it
third
worked.
place game, too.
Yep. Utah State beat Texas. It's funny. There was only 1, 2, 3, 4. There was 8 teams. So you automatically made the Elite 8.
Do you think schools count that?
You know they do.
Let me see if Oregon counts that.
Yeah, see if Oregon counts their championship. I bet you they have a banner, 1939 NCAA champions.